everyone. I'm going to take you along with me. I just started this painting. I was on my way out to the swimming pool. That's why I have a goofy cover up on. I was on my way out and I'm like, I just want to play for just a few minutes before I run out. So that's what you're capturing here is a really fast painting. This is 7-minute flowers. I did another one called 7-minute roses that you guys really enjoyed. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. It's another really fast video. That one I didn't talk through it at all, and I'm not going to kind of tell you a whole lot here other than I might talk about the products that I'm using, just so you kind of know what I'm using. I touch on a few things here. Right now I am going into the centers. I put shapes down. Okay, this is dry watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press, and I put shapes down, and then I kind of look for where could I put the centers by next to those shapes. And the shapes, as you can see, they're just random. I put them down real fast, and then I turn them into something. Because sometimes it's so loose that it doesn't need to look specifically like a specific flower. The person's mind will interpret what they want to see. Okay, when I look at these right now, I'm kind of seeing, you might be seeing something different. I'm seeing if I put a stem on these the right way, these could look like orchids. Okay, but I'm not. I'm going to keep going with this, and I'm going to turn them more into like a field of flowers or a garden bed of flowers. So that's what's happening here. I'm using my Daniel Smith watercolor sticks in the center. I just use that just to put a little bit of texture in. Those are absolutely fantastic. If you don't have watercolor sticks, get yourself just a few. You don't need much. And if you just don't want to break the bank with that, I think Ranger makes a thing called scribble sticks that are not that expensive, and you get quite a few in the little tin. So those are great. They're water soluble. And there's also the Caran d'Ache ones and all that. There's plenty of water soluble stuff that you can use with your watercolors. And here I'm just using my really inexpensive quill, and I'm going to go in and I get it wet and I just go in and I kind of hit those edges. I call it bumping edges. I just hit those edges just in certain areas just to loosen it up. Because it isn't loose watercolor isn't, in my opinion, isn't necessarily a wet on wet situation. Okay, this is dry. And then I'm going to throw in some water. I'm not spritzing the paper and doing it that way. There's whole techniques for all that, and you can do it that way. That's not how I do it. I always start with a dry piece of paper. I always start with my paper laying down. Very rarely will I put a painting upright and paint, unless I'm doing some kind of like rainy scene, But for the most part, this is how I do it. And I'm using the Magella paints, and I'm putting some salt down because I want kind of a little bit of a textured effect. Magella paints in this line, their pure pigment line and that they have, they don't granulate. So to get that kind of effect, you're going to have to use a granulating fluid, a medium, or a salt. It just gets some texture, which does end up giving me the texture that I want. But they do make a new line. It's been out for about a year. And they do have a granulating paint line. I do have them. I just don't have them out in this painting. But they do make a granulating paint line. I think it's like called tourmaline or something like that. Tourmaline, something like that. And they make gouache. Their gouache is top notch, in my opinion. It's not like the traditional chalky gouache that's out there. You put it in your pan, and it dries up and it cracks and looks like chalk and it flakes, and it doesn't do anything like that. It's like works perfect. It's the perfect gouache to pair with watercolor because there's such a similarity to the watercolor. There's not substantial difference between the two. It's just a bit more opaque, and it's perfect. It's perfect. Their gouache is perfect. So 2 thumbs up on Magello's gouache. I love their paints. 2 thumbs up. Their greens, 1 thumb down. They need to work on their greens. Daniel Smith, top notch. The only problem that Daniel Smith has, and I love all the Daniel Smith greens. They know how to do their greens. The only problem that Daniel Smith has is that they need to work on their tubes. The head of their tubes are too tiny. Coming out, it's too tiny. It's hard to put the lid on. The lid's too tiny. It's just, it's difficult, especially for somebody with tremors like myself. So right now I'm just doing what I like to do. Is I've been doing this for a while now, where I connect the flowers and create these lines. It's just my like little spider web effect. It goes back 2-3 years ago when I was in Ken's dad's garden beds, and there's like all these all these flowers, but there's just spider webs everywhere. And I just walked away with, wow. And that just kind of stayed with me, and it came out onto the paper, and it just has stayed with me with my work. So I do like to do these like webbing like effects. And now I'm just going in for finishing touches and using very big, bold brush marks to make the leaves, and just letting them be what they are. And some of them are hitting wet paper in certain areas and spreading out. And pretty much this is my 7-minute flowers. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Get yourself some new products. Maybe that quill is not the one that I'm using now. The one I used earlier is super cheap, and it's fantastic. It's a Workhorse, and you won't be disappointed. So I'll put a link for that also. You guys, in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and God bless each and every one of you. Bye, friends.